Good morning, everyone. Happy Hump Day, and welcome to the News Agenda with me, Fleet Street Fox. And today I'm joined by Mirror columnist Polly Hudson. And we're going to discuss the latest on Dominic West's midlife crisis, whether there's going to be a COVID cure by Christmas, and whether a journalist should ever lie. Through it all, we want you to ask us your questions. Dig into the comments below, ask us whatever's on your mind, and we'll do our best to answer them for you with as much expertise as we can muster from the bookshelves behind Polly. So what have we got? Well, the Mirror has splashed today on a major 10-month investigation into children's homes, which reveals that drug dealers are not only working inside them and recruiting kids to their gangs, which you think would be bad enough, but private companies are earning £234,000 a year per child. That's 5 times the cost of sending them to Eton. And for that kind of cost, we're getting new criminals minted because they're doing it so badly. Read that investigation if you can. Go and get the paper. It's absolutely horrifying. You should get into it. But first, let us turn to a 51-year-old man who wears his glasses around his neck on a string, yet somehow remains a sex magnet. Now, Dominic West has been called the sexiest man alive, but I thought that was for women who remember watching The Wire, not those who were babies at the time, as Lily James must have been, because she's 20 years younger than he is. Now, Polly, take us through the latest. Is this man having a breakdown or what?
I mean, someone's having a breakdown in this. I'm not quite sure who. It may well be me, because is he the sexiest man alive? Or, I mean, really? But so every time something goes on in this marriage, they come out like, nope, nothing to see here. Everything's absolutely fine. Don't worry about us. And obviously they did that really cringy thing on the doorstep, which just looks fake, even if it is real, when they handed out the sign saying, you know, our marriage is absolutely fine. Thank you very much for your interest. Good night. So now there's been a new wave of rumours saying that, you know, he's confessed to having feelings for Lily James, and that the wife has had enough and wants to go and live in Ireland and just be a gardener, and is fed up with being an actor's wife, because obviously he's away a lot on set, up to, I'm sure, absolutely nothing for legal reasons, and she's had enough. So no sooner does that story break than they do, I mean, it's kind of like a doorstep stand there, but a moving one this time, where they've gone for a spontaneous jog, which is so spontaneous, she hasn't even got trainers. She's wearing weird hiking boots. I mean, the headline's written itself there, hasn't it?
It has rather. I kind of, there's some stuff about his wife. I mean, she's, when they did this first doorstep, appearance, it seemed very badly advised by a very bad PR, whoever it was giving them this advice. And she was wearing, I noticed, a pair of green, very battered green leather ballet pumps, obviously house slippers, right? And obviously you may not want to get dressed up to the nines to go and address the photographers at the end of your drive. But you would take your slippers off, wouldn't you? You'd put some shoes on. You wouldn't go out there in your slippers. And now she's going for a run in hiking boots and a scarf wrapped around her waist. Behind, several paces behind him. It's only going to look bad. They're intentionally going past the photographers. It's not like photographers are chasing them down the road. And maybe, I don't know, maybe if you wear hiking boots when you're running, it's like wearing weights around your ankles. But they're like £50 each, those things. It doesn't, there's just more questions than answers in this, isn't there?
I mean, as always, all the way through this story, every time you think you know what's going on, you think you've got a handle on it, they do something like this, and you're just like, what? I mean, is she being really forward thinking, and she's about to sort of launch herself with, a brand of inappropriate footwear, whatever the occasion, we can give you the wrong shoes. It's just baffling. Who hasn't got a pair of trainers? Everyone's got a pair of trainers. And the fact, as you say, that he's running ahead of her and kind of awkwardly looking back, and who is advising them, and why do they hate them so much?
And why do they do it? Because I mean, if you want this story, if you're this couple, if it was happening to you or to me, and we wanted this story to go away and us to deal with our marital problems privately and either agree to divorce or stay together, and bearing in mind they've got 4 children as well, aged between 7 and about 13. If you wanted some privacy and you want this just to go away and for people to stop speculating about this, you wouldn't go out for a run past some photographers wearing the things you found at the bottom of the wardrobe because everything else is in the wash. You just wouldn't.
You wouldn't go out.
What are you doing?
You would
What are
lay
you doing?
low. You know, my goodness, we're in the middle of a lockdown. There's never been a more perfect time to just stay at home. It's what we're literally meant to be doing. I mean, you know, there's this too many times quoted thing that Kate Moss apparently said, although, you know, no one actually heard her say it, because, you know, never complain, never explain. If the quickest way to make a story go away is just to say nothing, do nothing, lay low and wait for it to blow over. But it's so strange how they keep they're like stoking the fire of this. If they'd have just gone out, even just for a normal run, wearing normal appropriate footwear, in step with each other, then that's less. But everything they do just goes slightly wrong. The awkwardness of the statement that they wrote and handed out, they sort of said it and handed it out when they did the doorstep performance the first time. Everything about it's weird. Just stop doing it. It's like, I mean, do they want us to be talking about it? It's almost like they're getting off on the attention. How can you not think that? Because it's not like they live in London, you know, they're packed every time they walk down the road. They're out in the country. There aren't photographers there. Stay at home.
There's plenty of places you can go for a run where there's no snappers around. So this has been done intentionally to try and make them look like more of a couple, which in itself is newsworthy. And then it's done so badly at that it becomes extra newsworthy. If you're watching this, Dominic, get a new agent, mate. Get a new PR, because the one you've got,
it's
not working.
Too much, isn't it? It's all protesting too much. If there was nothing going on, they wouldn't be going to these ridiculous, awkward lengths. It all just looks so awkward. And I go back to, is he that fit? Is he worth this? You know.
Well, you know, I think probably he's sexy for a certain age of woman, perhaps. Those of us who remember him in The Wire, and who probably like a bit of a womanizer now and again. I'm afraid I'm probably guilty to some of that. But, you know, it's now women in their 40s and over who are going to be attracted to him. And Lily's in her 30s. And she just dated Captain America. For goodness sake, Lily James, if you're watching, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Captain America, stick with him. Those muscles don't go. Dominic West is only going to go to seed. He's going to get more and more like Robert Redford, craggy.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, keep asking us your questions, everybody. We want to answer as many as we can. We've got a lot about vaccines apparently so far, because we did a big vaccine explainer last night, so keep asking us those as well. Now, the Mirror is reporting, as far as COVID is concerned, that we could all be cuddling our loved ones by Christmas. Wouldn't that be nice? And Polly, you've written today about how this is light at the end of the tunnel, but how can we see by Christmas when, okay, this vaccine takes 2 injections 3 weeks apart, and then another 2 weeks before you can be immune to it. So we'd need that injection within the next 7 days if we're gonna hit Christmas. And is that really likely, Polly?
I mean, we didn't say which Christmas. I mean, obviously, the thing is, I think we've all got really excited because this is the first good news we have had. Never mind about coronavirus, about anything this year. It's the first good thing that's happened, and you know, you can't not be just thrilled about it. But yes, once the sort of initial euphoria wears off and a bit of reality steeps in, yes, there is not enough time, and certainly there's not enough time for everyone to have had it by Christmas. Obviously, you know, care workers and health workers are going to have it first, and then the elderly, and you know, it's all going to take a long time. And also, I mean, we're trusting the people who've mucked up absolutely everything in this so far to deliver this. I mean, it's, you know, it's so specific when you read about it, the temperature it has to be stored at and the way it has to be given. And am I the only one with sort of no faith left that they can pull this off?
I don't think so, Polly. I think the nation's with you on that one.
I really, really, really pray I'm wrong in that, and that they can come out and surprise us all. Maybe this is what it's all been about. They've sort of been bumbling and shambolic all the way along to sort of lower our expectations, and now suddenly they're going to come out.
It's all part of a grand scheme. Yeah, we were relying on Matt Spatchcock to do it for us. Now, Mandy mentions this vaccine is nowhere ready. It is apparently quite ready. I've heard it's mandatory. No, it isn't. And well, I'm not having it. Okay, Mandy, I'm not having this kind of rubbish going past me without pointing out why it's rubbish. Mandy, were you on your doorstep earlier this year clapping the NHS? Because if the answer is yes, then you want the NHS to not be overwhelmed and you want those doctors and nurses to keep doing their job and saving lives. If you don't have the vaccine, we continue to have not enough people get the vaccine. We continue to have outbreaks of this. We continue to have waves, and the NHS continues to have problems. People who are doctors and nurses in the NHS, some of whom may have reasons that they can't have the vaccine medically, are going to be exposed to huge amounts of coronavirus while they're doing their job. If you don't get your vaccine, Mandy, and if I don't explain this to people when I've got a platform to do it like this, and more people don't have a vaccine, then the NHS that we all applauded has huge problems. It's up to us to protect our NHS by getting any jab that's going. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Anybody else want to kick in? Feel free. Kerry asks, now, why is nobody discussing this vaccine won't be given to children? I have an extremely vulnerable child who's been housebound since March. Why are vulnerable children's needs and safety again being ignored? Now, we do know it's not probably being given to children because they're not generally at huge risk from coronavirus. If your child has a condition, Kerry, which makes it more vulnerable, and that's why he or she has been inside the house since March, then it may well be that the vaccine wouldn't be safe for that child anyway. And what your child needs to be safe is what we're just talking to Mandy about, everybody else to get the vaccine. That's what gets Kerry's child safe. So Mandy, if you're still listening and you haven't gone back to wherever you were and upset at me, Kerry's story is why you get the vaccine. You don't say, well, I'm not having it, because Kerry's kid needs you to have it. What do you think, Polly? Am I being a bit too mean?
I couldn't agree with you more. And the whole way along, the sort of interesting, brilliant, depressing thing about this pandemic has been that we do it for everyone else. I wear a mask to protect you. You wear a mask to protect me. It's all about social responsibility. Exactly as you said, we are going to have the vaccine, not just for us, but for everyone in our community. I protect your family, you protect my family. This is what we have to do. And it's maddening. It's insanity to me to hear people say, I'm not going to take the vaccine. This is what we've been waiting for. Of course, let's wait until it's safe, until all the tests have been done. I'm not saying, get it now on the black market, let's wait and do it properly. But once it's there and it's safe, you've got to have it. How can you, in any good conscience, not have it?
If you're able to have it, you should be having it, because it's the thing which is going to save everybody else's lives as well as your own. If I go and get the vaccine, I'm protected. If Polly doesn't get the vaccine, she's not. If Polly were to have, for example, a condition like cancer or something which is going to suppress her immune system, she's at far more risk of getting COVID and dying from it. So if I've, selfishly decided that I'm not going to do it, then I've exposed Polly, and my selfish decision has killed potentially somebody else. And that's the one problem. Although what you mentioned there, Polly, we've had all this amazing, people getting together and acting as one for the greater good. There's been this constant undercurrent of, this is what I would prefer. And it's been, I don't want to wear a mask. I want to go back to work. I want to do this. I want to go on holiday. I don't want a vaccine. I. And I can understand that. No, Yvonne. No. I'm not going to read it out. No. Honestly.
You should read it out. Because people are obviously thinking.
Is Yvonne a nanobot? We don't know. Put it that way. Is St. Petersburg awake yet? It's constant undertone of I think, I want, I. And that is what has caused us to, reopen too early, to lock down too late. That's what's put the political pressure on the Prime Minister not to do the things the scientists have been urging him to do, to have a circuit breaker earlier. I had a scientist on here last night who was saying exactly this. And that selfishness is understandable, okay? The fear, the concern, the putting yourself and your family before others, understandable and often vital. But if it kills other people, just don't do it. Don't do it, people.
Exactly. Exactly. And you still see, you still go into shops now and there are people not wearing masks. And yes, some of them do have reasons and they can't do it. But I think a lot of people, I keep seeing people with masks under their chins. So not over their nose or their mouth. So they obviously aren't exempt because they've got one and they've got it so nearly on, but just not quite on. And you can't say anything because you're not going to say to someone, excuse me, that's not how you wear it. And they're going to say, oh my goodness, I had no idea. Thank you so much for telling me.
We should, because you know why? Here's the thing about why wearing your mask when it's just a bit under your nose or it drops off, it doesn't work. It's like wearing your pants with your willy outside. It defeats the object. You cover the stuff people don't want in their face, which in this case would be coronavirus, and in the case of underpants is the rest of it, your junk. So, thank you, Fiona, by the way, who was up there earlier on to say that she agreed with us. I'm glad somebody does. Now, keep asking us your questions. Please don't ask them in Russian because I'm going to be scathing about them. Now, we want to get to our last story, which is about a Panorama journalist, ex-Panorama journalist, Martin Bashir. Now, he's been accused about 25 years ago, and again recently, of lying to get that famous Princess Diana interview in 1995, using faked documents to convince her brother that she was being spied on, that the people around her were selling stories, and that the royal family was ill with various things, that Prince Edward had AIDS, and that Prince Charles wanted her dead and was spying on her via her son's watch or something equally mad. And it's now turned out that some of these documents were faked, and there's a lot of criticism of the BBC for not doing something about this sooner. It does appear they may have covered up a bit what they knew about this scoop when they were busy getting the awards for it. Now, there's going to be a lot of talk about journalists and how we're all scumbags and everything else. But I can imagine there will be some journalists that I've worked with over the years in different newspapers who will be saying, well, look, yeah, the methods aren't good, but the interview still stands as a work of journalism. He got the interview everybody wanted. The things that she said changed history. And he may have, broken the rules to get there. But the interview itself, the ends justify the means to some extent. What do you think, Polly?
I mean, this is such a tricky one, isn't it? Because no, you just shouldn't be dishonest. That kind of behavior would not fly at the Daily Mirror. It's not right. It's just not honest. But then I can see, as devil's advocate, the other side, which is, she cooperated with the Andrew Morton book. It's not the only time she spoke out. And the difficulty, of course, with investigating it so long, it was 25 years ago. Obviously, she's no longer here to say, maybe she had already decided to do it. We just don't know. I mean, any journalist with any integrity would not lie to get a story, really, because what's that famous quote? What is that quote?
There were three of us in this marriage.
No, not that one.
Princess of People's Hearts. There were so many.
You should never use a way of getting an interview that you wouldn't put in a piece.
This is my thing. I tell my journalism students, it's Harold Evans' quote. Yes. You should never do anything to get a story that you wouldn't put in your copy. And this is my personal opinion. If you're going to say we use fake bank statements in order to win her trust, and then we got an interview which is entirely genuine, then if you're prepared to say that, you're okay, aren't you? If you're prepared, if you think you ought to be covering it up, then ethically you shouldn't be doing it in the first place, really.
No, I mean, it's just not okay, is it? And you can justify it. You can say she spoke out, other times when there's no allegations of any wrongdoing. She decided to do the Andrew Morton book. It was a great interview, but that's not the point. The point is suddenly it's all a bit ugh. And also now you look back at, unfortunately, this is the hangover from it. You look back at everything else he's done, and he's done such, the Michael Jackson interview, he's done so many important, iconic interviews. You look back and just think, What else?
Yeah.
What else?
And there were some allegations around that wasn't too great either. But, the other problem that you have here as a journalist is that if you go off the line at some point in order to get your story, what's happened here with Bashir is that Rosa Monckton, in that article we just looked at in the Mirror today, one of Diana's friends, has said, look, she became increasingly paranoid. She did this bombshell interview. The Queen then said that they had to divorce. She then had her royal title removed. She then went out with Dodi fired. She became increasingly concerned that people were out to get her, that the security services were out to get her. She had relied then on private bodyguards provided by the Al Fayeds, and then she ended up in a car with a drunk driver in a Paris underpass. Now, there's a huge, route to go along there, but ultimately, someone is going to say that Martin Bashir's lies, indirectly or directly, led to Princess Diana's death. And had he got that interview without faking the documents, which is surely possible, then if she had died, it would just be one of those things. But because she has died, the fact that he has perhaps bent the rules, more than bent the rules, broken the rules early on, means that he's going to get the blame. And that also means that every other journalist, the likes of me and Polly, we get blamed for things that other journalists do. Yes. We have more problems to try and overcome. People distrust us, and faith in the media falls apart. Now, Yvonne mentions, you could see Diana looking stressed. Yes, you could. And she was stressed for a whole bunch of reasons. And wouldn't you agree, Polly, that her paranoia and the fact that she thought everyone was out to get her probably came from more than one source, especially towards the end of her life.
Yes, definitely. And listen, some of the things that he may have been alleging may have been true. But again, that's not the point. The point is, you've got to be able to look yourself in the eye in the mirror, haven't you? Not the newspaper, the actual mirror. And he can't. And so that takes away any glory of this incredible scoop, this amazing interview. Surely every time he thinks that, maybe he doesn't, maybe I'm just being a namby-pamby. But if that was me, I would, people saying, well done, that's an incredible, what a story, I would just always feel a bit eesh about it inside.
I still feel a bit eesh about stories that I've got wrong. 20 years ago, I still go, I wish I hadn't done that kind of thing. And Jenny asks, Fleet Street Fox only wants to hear from you if you share her views on vaccines. If not, she'll shame you live on air for having an opinion. No, Jenny, I don't only want to hear from you, because I've just literally said to the people backstage, let's have some questions from people who aren't pro the vaccines. I do want to hear from other people who aren't pro vaccines. I just asked for them.
We would love to. We both agree on it. It would be so interesting to hear. I'd love to hear a well-reasoned argument for not having the vaccine that maybe changes. Well, it will never change how I feel, but that makes me think.
But this is the problem, Jenny. There have been no well-reasoned arguments for the vaccines to not be taken. You've got madness about nanobots. You've got madness about people saying it's not safe. It's been given to 20,000 people who aren't dead. So it's not going to be too bad, is it? And you've got the likes of Vladimir Putin saying, I've got a vaccine. I gave it to my own daughter. I'm not going to let anyone else have it. That's not much use, is it? So here we are.
All this stuff about, they want to put a track in you. The government, it's a way for the government to track you. And all the people saying that have got mobile phones that they carry with them everywhere. If the government want to track them, they do it. They can already do it.
Exactly. If you want the government to track you, I know this from someone who used to work in the security services, all you have to do is say the word bomb on your mobile phone, and any politician that's named, like, wouldn't it be awful if Boris Johnson got bombed, right? This is going to happen now with this broadcast. It automatically hits an algorithm in the air. They pull it out of the air and they look at it GCHQ. Hi, guys. So they'll be saying, they'll be doing that with this just because I've said that. If you want to upset them, then, go ahead and do that kind of thing. But we're not shaming you for having the wrong views. We're trying to explain, if you support the NHS, if you clap for the NHS, if you want people to not die, and if you want people like we heard about in the broadcast today, who've got vulnerable children, to let those children out and to let those children have a life without coronavirus affecting them, you get the vaccine. Simple as that. That's how it goes. So thank you for watching, everybody, whether you're in St. Petersburg or anywhere else, and wherever your views are. do keep tuned. We'll be having more videos during the week. Thank you, Polly, for joining me and for bringing us your expertise, particularly about how unattractive Dominic West is, because it's refreshing to hear that from somebody. And thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next time. Make sure you get the vaccine when it comes out. Bye.